All right, welcome back to episode 9 of the Hops and Bops podcast. I am producer Tom.
I'm Joe.
And I'm back to fucking last. I'm Mike.
Well, you were like snapping a picture,
It
so
was true.
It was true.
I was trying to prevent some dead air.
It's all good.
But we have a bit of a genre flip today. We've got a reggae album. It is Free Rein by Rebelution. And the beer of choice today is Tribus Beer Co Adult Content.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
I like it.
So why don't we
Crack them open?
Crack them in.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, little spurts going at
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of flaky going on here.
A little
We're
flaky.
going to all just pour our own beers while we watch Joe to see what his head
I'm working
looks
on
like.
it. This is episode 9.
9.
I've been tilting too early because
There you go.
I do a lot of thinking during our episodes. Like, all right, what should
Sure.
come next? What should come next?
True.
So I'm not focused on the pour, but I'm very happy with my pour right
It's
now.
very aesthetically pleasing,
It's a
but
great pour. I might take a picture of that, look at that on Instagram. Maybe
Ooh.
not. I don't know. Whatever.
all right. So what do you got glasses wise?
I'll take a pic later.
So
Felt cute. Might delete later.
yeah. So my glass of choice, Mike had a glass from Southport Brewing Company, otherwise known as SBC.
Mhm.
They are more of a restaurant, but they do brew a couple of their beers. It's more from my neck of the woods in Connecticut, which also is where the beer is from. So I thought it would be a good little
Nice.
pairing.
Black can, black and white. I went with the black kind of covered
Yeah.
glass. Look at that. Yeah, that might be a picture for later.
Mhm.
Sons of Anarchy. Love
Mhm.
that show. Such
Ma-
a great show.
We should
Great
probably-
logo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man, so good.
We should take pictures of our glasses, maybe make that a thing. Because some of our listeners do say that they like our glass conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to like this. I have a New York Giants cup.
Oh, man. Well, that's just a sympathy vote.
Well, it's just because I hate myself. I'm a New York football fan.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I mean, you are a fan of the team that actually might be worse than the Giants, which is the Jets.
Jets, yeah.
So that's pretty sad.
Anyway, let's get off this topic. Don't want to relive that trauma.
Go right into the beer.
Yeah, let's actually haven't tasted yet. So
Sounds good.
Nice little sniff there. Citrusy.
Yep. So, like it was said, this is my beer pick from Tribus Beer Company in Milford, Connecticut. This is my favorite brewery. I love them.
Yeah.
To a T.
Like, are you in love with them, or do you just love them?
I could be in love with them.
uh-oh.
Shout out to all the people.
You're like that lady that married the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
You just marry the whole
It
brewery.
could be. Do you, Joe, take Tribus to be your lawfully
You can
wedded
even
brewery?
do it.
I could do it.
Can you technically marry yourself?
See, everyone asks me that question. I don't.
What does everyone ask you
I
that?
do weddings on the side,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I can marry. I don't know if I can officiate my own ceremony.
It's a very
in
big
which
ring.
Yeah,
I love lamp.
I love it.
I
Yep.
love it.
But anyway, Tribus, they're I think 2 years into their breweryness,
Ooh,
and
I like that.
it's a great brewery to go to. Has a very like urban vibe. A lot of cool like graffiti style art there.
Yeah.
And they're just very laid back there. But what I love most are their beers. I love their IPAs. I love their sours. I hate sours.
Mhm.
I do not drink sours, but their sours,
Yeah.
they just do it differently. Do it right. I don't know how they make their sours per se, but I'll maybe talk about those in a future episode. But
Yeah.
I love what they do.
Should do a sour.
Yeah, we should do a sour. I love what they do. So they're constantly rotating a lot of their beers. Their IPA, all their beers are coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And this was one of my most recent favorites by them. Adult Content. We're sitting at 6.9.
Woo!
Nice.
All right, Kevin.
6.9%, hence, I guess, the name Adult Content. A little frisky there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love the can.
Yeah, so the can is great. So it's another thing. Look, I feel like I'm gonna be blowing smoke up their asses. Like I'm like a walking billboard of Tribus, but I really do love it there. I love their artwork for all their beers. They have a distinct logo and artwork and feel for every single one of their beers. They enlist like local artists and graphic designers to designed the label for their beer and the name, and their marketing, just how they present their beers in your hand or on social media is just all-time high. I love it. So yeah, the label's cool. I actually chose a more tame label. They have a lot more, colorful and more involved artwork, but this one is just a black label with white lettering, adult content with the white square with AC, kind of like a TV rating, like if you're watching it on TV.
You're on an explicit on an album kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly, like a parental advisory kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
But this to me, speaks to me because of I know how colorful their other albums, not even on an album yet, how their other beers are. Like this one stands out because it's just so minimalistic.
Yeah. And I love that too. They list the hops. They got Cryo 𝘼𝙙𝙪, 𝘼𝙪𝙪,
Yep.
And then they've got the blurred out.
Yeah.
Like it's,
like a sensor.
Like a sensor.
Which is cool.
So every one of their beers, they're consistent with that labeling. They come up with like 3 adjectives for their beers, and they can either be what hops they include or what word reminds me of them.
Yeah.
And the third one was the blurred out, and I thought that was pretty
cool.
It like stuck with the theme here. But again, another IPA, but this one's a little bit different. This is a cryo IPA.
Yeah, explain that for me a little bit.
So I did my best at researching what a cryo IPA is, and what I found was it's a cryogenic process of instead of putting the hops into the brewing process themselves, they separate the hops from, the word is lupulin.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's like a Pokemon.
Okay. Yeah, lupulin. So basically they extract the lupulin from the hops, and your end product is this powder, and they brew the beer with this powder, giving much more of an aroma and much more flavorful taste. Apparently, I'm no beer expert, but this is a up-and-coming craze in the beer world, the cryo IPA, which has this process of extracting the lupulin from the hops, creating this powder.
Yeah, I don't know if it's from the cryo or from just the brewing process in general of this beer, but it's a very thick looking. I mean, usually when you hold a beer up to the light and it's a dark beer, you can't see through. This is a golden. It's got that haze. It's got that citra. But you hold it up to a light and you can't see shit.
Nope.
It almost looks like orange juice to me.
Yeah, it does. It's lighter in color.
At least that kind of texture and consistency. Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I think they absolutely kill the IPA game. Tribus does.
It's not super hoppy either.
No, and that comes from the cryogenic process. It's less of the hops and the leaves and more of just the aroma, taste, and the feel. It's not as, it looks heavy, but it doesn't drink as heavy for me. And I wanted to, because we get stuck in our IPAs here in the episode, in the podcast mostly, I wanted to bring a different kind of IPA to the podcast, and this was one of their kind of newer, more experimental IPAs.
Yeah, no, it's actually really good. It drinks smooth, a little higher content. Once you get up into those 7s or so, that's a bite, but you don't really taste it.
Yep. So Tribus, I hope I made you proud with if you're listening, the cryogenic process. But for more information, please see tribusbeer.co.
Please send us money.
Do our plugs early.
Read the process up on their website, because they are the experts. I am just a customer.
But speaking of different kind of change ups in what we usually do, this album, which is a reggae album, our very first one. Mike, tell us a little bit about it.
So Rebelution was one of the first bands that I kind of got into when it came to reggae. One of my friends really introduced me to that, and I've just been stuck on them. I mean, they have what I consider one of the best live albums, and I'm not a huge live album person. But
you aren't?
No, but they do it at Red Rocks in Colorado, and they absolutely kill it. It's just a great vibe, from what I read, such a great venue, from what I hear. And this is one of the albums, Free Rein, that has, a lot of just good tunes on it. It was kind of, They started off, they had 2 singers actually. And their first album was a lot different because they had kind of a back and forth. And one guy was a little bit more hip-hop-ish. You could hear the difference with his vocals. And then he left after the first album. And then they went kind of into this little bit more like pop reggae kind of sound that they have now. The first one was a little more like rock reggae, I would say. And this though was one of the albums. They have a lot of just good tunes on it. It's a very upbeat album.
Yep.
There's only a couple of ballads. Yeah, I mean it opens up with "Celebrate." Kind of got this fade in. It's a super positive song, which a lot of their stuff is. It just talks about like, just being in the right, frame of mind and really pushing, kind of thinking about the positive things in life. And they're not just your simple upbeat reggae all the time. There's a little bit more to them. Yeah, everything's on the ands when it comes to reggae. And these guys change it up a little bit. There's a lot of horns involved. I love when you get the horns involved.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah. But this first song kind of opens up with the fade in. It's super positive. In my opinion, it's just a great way to start an album. You start an album on a high note, you're happy. Yeah. You just like it.
Yeah. I agree, Mike. We talk about, the starter tracks. Oh, boy. Spilt the cryo everywhere.
It's all good.
It's okay.
That's a...
but we do talk about the beginning tracks a lot, and I think this is another album where it began on a track that represents the album well.
Yeah,
Celebrate's a good one for that.
Yeah. So actually, I was kind of introduced to Rebelution through Mike during the summer. He would actually put it on. We were playing horseshoes all the time and drinking.
Yep.
So makes sense. Personally, I think. I don't want to typecast all of reggae into one kind of feeling, but I feel like it's more vibe music for me personally.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more difficult to put into like a, analytic lens and try to like focus on what everything else is in that.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm a bit bigger fan of like the classic reggae, like Bob Marley and the Wailers, stuff like Peter Tosh and Alton Ellis. Current artists still have their merits too. I'm not going to say that they can't, come out with a classic reggae album this late. But I feel like it's a bit harder to be creative with a lot of the tropes that reggae kind of has.
Okay.
But I mean, I enjoyed this album, so I feel like what they did is actually really interesting. Like you said before, Celebration kind of starts off with that really positive and feel good intro, and I feel like that's like one of the best ways to start this kind of like feel good, relaxed kind of style of album.
I think based on what you said, kind of proves a point that I was thinking of is. I'm not as into reggae.
Yeah.
So when I listen to this album, it's more of a mainstream take on reggae.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's almost like an opening door for me. And I really got into this album because it has elements of like rock and R&B and even R&B and even jazz. I heard some jazz elements in this album, and
it's funny you say that. Yeah. I don't mean to cut you off, but again, there's a song that I actually have like a country twang to it.
Yeah.
Healing.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Which going along with what you're saying.
Yeah, so I thought, as someone who's not into the reggae genre per se, this was a great album to kind of get my feet wet a little bit.
Yep.
And I enjoyed it for that reason.
Yeah.
So we come in with the second song, City Life. It's got a catchy verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Like everything's kind of catchy with that tune. Talks about getting out of the city, like being kind of more in nature, that peace of mind. Speaking of, one of their albums prior to was called Peace of Mind. But anyway, just that mindset of like just kind of getting, out into the open and enjoying nature, enjoying kind of the natural things in life and less of the kind of hustle bustle, like city-ish, vibe that you're getting. So I thought that was kind of a cool tune to go into. So continuing to move down the album though, Legend, not one of my favorites. I won't say it's my last, but it wasn't one of my favorites. I thought it was very, I don't know, the vocals, the lyrics were kind of corny.
Yeah.
The horns were good. I like the horns in it. But again, that was, in my opinion, the best part.
I love the horns throughout.
Yeah.
And, I also learned about this band from you, Mike. And, horns aren't the first thing I think of when I hear reggae. So when I heard the prominence of, am I wrong in that?
There's a lot of horns in reggae.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
fuck me. So whatever.
No, thank you.
But anyway, then maybe I just won't make that point. Then.
It's a fine, but
No, the way they incorporate horns.
Yes,
is,
that's what I was going for. For me, horns aren't the first thing I think of when I think of reggae. But I love the way that they have this kind of like big band feel to their sound.
Yeah. When you think of reggae, you think of kind of that and beat guitar, the bass, and that rhythm section, the bass and the percussion.
Yes.
So I get that.
That's what I mean.
Yes, of
That's
course.
what I mean. So don't at me.
But then you get in, you get the trumpets and the things like that get thrown in there, and it makes a whole another feel. And this was the first song on the album that really promoted the horns.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they were at the forefront. But then I think the rest of the song kind of let down the fact that, the horns and everything were such a big part of this track.
Yeah.
I thought they could have done more with it. And like I said, the lyrics, the vocals, just kind of an okay song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the drum section in that song as well. It kind of has this kind of bouncy feeling to it. I know I say that a lot, but again, yeah, I agree that the lyrics in the latter half get a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Like the chorus kind of repeats. He doesn't.
Legend.
It's a bit much.
Yep.
But the song right after that is a fantastic one. Settle Down Easy. I think that's one of their more. It's a more reminiscent of the classic reggae sounds that came before it, and that's what I kind of appreciate the most out of it.
Go ahead.
It has that kind of modern twist on it as well. It doesn't sound exactly like it comes straight out of that era, but I enjoy what they kind of come out with from this.
I fought with myself a lot on between Sleeper and Number One and everything else, and I actually had to put Settle Down Easy as my runner-up number one.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I had one other song that just absolutely just takes it, but love Settle Down Easy.
You're taking a page out of my book.
Yeah, I did. I couldn't decide. It was
very
tough.
Indecisive
it was tough, but this is a great. The lyrics are great. The music's great. Good incorporation of the horns, the vocals. It's got kind of that acapella ending. Mm-hmm. It really is a fucking great song.
Yeah. It's very calming and easygoing. Lyrics are nice. It's a fun chorus to sing. Mm-hmm. I do it all the time in the car.
Good.
It's still pretty light and bubbly, but it has that substance of a good reggae track that it kind of sticks with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then next song, Take On Anything.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite songs on the album.
Okay.
I love this song.
Wow.
So the intro it's very horn heavy, and it had a kind of like a jazz vibe to me.
Yep.
Which I loved, and I love that intro section is repetitive throughout the song. It kind of drives the song. Like they play that section after the first chorus leading into the second verse, and then there's this very, very simple drum fill after that whole progression, and it goes bleka bleka ba boom, and it goes, and as soon as I heard that and I heard the verse start, I'm like, ooh, yes,
and
love that song.
Since you're not a lyricist when it comes to that, do you realize that is the only time they mention the album title?
Yes, Free Rein. Yep. Yes,
only time there's not a there's no title track, nothing. It's just that's the only time it says "Getting Back to My True Free Rein."
True Free, and that's where it comes from.
It's the only time they mention it in the entire album.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you get a title track. We've talked about it in the past, like Alice in Chains with Dirt and everything else.
Yep.
This was the first. It was interesting it was in the lyrics, but it wasn't actually the title of a track.
It's where the Foo Fighters got "Wasting Life" from. One of the songs on the track. There was no song called "Wasting Life," but so it's kind of the same thing.
So it was kind of cool to see that. That's a great song.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm no expert on the album.
No, and then we moved to "Patience."
Yeah.
Which personally was kind of my weakest song on the album.
Yeah.
Very electronic, airy. It's kind of got that electronic drum intro. The lyrics aren't bad, but it's kind of the first ballad that's on the album. It's a little boring, in my opinion. There's just not a lot of substance to it, unfortunately. Again, if you listen to the album enough, you're still singing along to it. It's still catchy, but if I've got to pick a song that's just kind of like a throwaway, to me, it's just the one that's kind of like, it's just not quite doing it for me.
I feel like a lot of the vocal performances on this kind of leave a bit to be desired for me specifically. But, you know, personally as a vocalist, I kind of want a little bit more out of it.
No, I agree. That song definitely did not do it.
The only thing I wrote for that was just it was a bit slower than the rest of the other tracks, and it felt less focused.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that had a lot of the electronic.
Yeah.
That too.
I guess that could appeal to the more dub people, you know, trying to keep that tie in if they're not redoing the whole album, you know, there's the dub song, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they actually hit again with kind of a dub style reggae with that Rise on Top. I just thought it was just a cool like transition. Like it was a cool change. Brings the tempo and the energy back up a little bit. It kind of had that stutter vocals, you know, which kind of gives that, you know, back to that reggae feel a little bit. Wasn't one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's these guys are shaking their heads hard.
No,
I'm glad we agree on this.
Yeah, this one, they needed to make it. They had to make it. I get it. It fits in the genre, but this one gets stuck in my head for the wrong reasons. Like, I'm singing this chorus like in the middle of like my working for the day, and I'm like, no, I want other songs.
I want good songs to get stuck in my head.
It just this one just didn't do it for me. I thought the chorus was kind of like cheesy, but
that makes sense.
Oh well, whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
you stole my notes. I thought the stuttering was interesting to include, but I don't think it really executed that well.
Yeah,
and it just sounded not very as succinct as it should have.
Yeah, but then I'll tell you, you go to song number 8, best song on the album.
This is it.
Trapdoor.
Yeah.
Oh, hands down, the best song on the album.
Drums and bass locked in on that one.
Oh, dude, it's just a great tune. Again, going back to that bluesy kind of you know, area that I like to listen to and I kind of come from. The horns, they're not super prominent, but they're there and they accent so well. It's such a driving song. Vocally, the lyrics, the guitar solo is just, oh my god. And I know there's not a lot going on in the album when it comes to guitar solo stuff. That right there just kills it. Great guitar solo. I love how at the end the guitar solo kind of fades out and then the horns come back in and it's all just super suppressed, but it's there. Best song on the album, hands down.
For sure. Cool. For sure.
You know, and then it comes right back into Good Day, which is another positive, upbeat. You got the horns, great lyrics. There's some good harmonies in that song. You know, the vocal and the horn kind of syncopation, they kind of go together.
Yeah.
So much of just that positive vibe through this album. Like, you're listening to it, whether you're a lyricist or not, you're listening to the lyrics, you just feel that, like, positive, happy vibe throughout the album.
Exactly.
And for that reason, when I heard this song, I thought
For that reason, I'm out.
No, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in. I thought of, like, I don't know, if you had to make, like, a summer playlist, you know, summer party playlist.
Yep.
This is on Good Days on there.
Yep.
American You by Yellow Wolf is on there. Like just a lot of these, you know, upbeat, positive. Because me, having said not a lyricist per se, just going by like vibe of the song, like it fits in that, and big fan of that. Yeah, that was a good song.
Yeah, and then again, you go to Healing, which is, in my opinion, they did something very different on that song.
Yes.
Had a very kind of country twang to it. Lyrics are just, again, you go with that positive vibe. Just great positive lyrics. Kind of have that solo going on in the background throughout the whole thing. Great guitar work.
Yeah.
This dude, Eric Rackamani, is just unbelievable at guitar.
I noticed the same thing. The acoustic guitar work on that song is unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable. To watch his fingers just move on that fretboard and sing at the same time, I was just like, I don't know how anyone does it. Like, he was extremely, extremely smooth. And the albums sound like there's another guitarist while he's singing.
Right.
And there isn't.
Well, I'm surprised that there's only 4 members.
That's it. You got keys, drums, bass, guitar, and vocals.
Yeah.
And then they have the other guys doing backup vocals. And their horns, which more so are like studio guys and traveling guys.
Touring members
and stuff.
But yeah, to your point, I mean, that song Healing is that in a nutshell.
It's him.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
literally him.
Cool. Yeah.
And I like how the title kind of plays into the it was like a big break in terms of like what the sounds of the album were doing before that, and so I thought it was kind of like a nice tie-in, being like, oh, it's healing you. It's kind of like making you chill out even more from a chill album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got Free Rein, which is kind of like just making your own decisions and like doing what you feel is right for you.
Exactly.
And you get songs like Celebrate and City Life, where you're leaving the city, you're going where you're more comfortable, and Settle Down Easy. Take on Anything, Rise on Top.
You just read the track list.
I mean, legit healing. It's just more energy. The whole deal.
Positive vibes.
It's just a very positive album, which I think is why I'm kind of drawn to it. I mean, Healing, in my opinion, was my sleeper because because it was just it was short. It was to the point. It had such a big influence on that album.
Yeah.
But it definitely was not a song you'd make a single.
Yeah.
Right.
It almost sounds out of place, but in a good way.
Exactly.
On the album. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It was just a good little break, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. And then you go to More Energy, which is kind of exactly what the title says.
Yep.
Positive vibe.
Well, no, More Energy. It was just, it brings everything back
Right.
up and it kind of gets you moving. And the only issue I had between 10, 11, and 12 is that Healing, great tune, chill. More Energy brings it back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I was not happy with the way it ended.
Constellation.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I just felt like what a downer to end such a great positive album on. I almost would have preferred Healing to be the last track. If they're if they're going for hey, let's throw something different at them for the last track, almost like Tame Impala,
Currents. Same old mistakes. New person, same old mistakes.
How new things were introduced to the end of the album. Yeah. For this album, I feel like Healing would have been a better outro than Constellation. Constellation kind of is just a throwaway for me. I don't know.
Agreed.
I don't know.
Somewhere else on the album, it's not a bad song.
Yes.
Yeah. But somewhere else on the album, it might have fit better.
Right.
I don't know. To end with that, I just felt like you had more energy and bam, everything's cruising. You're good. You're back up. To just end with more of a Ice Cream Man, going back to our last album, Ice Cream Man style song, boom. Constellation was just so low key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So chill. I thought there could have been a little more there.
But overall, I mean, the musicality, the musicianship, and everyone's parts were just, locked in.
Well, realistically, I mean, this band, this is their sixth album, their most recent. They've only lost one member. They haven't added members. They haven't gotten rid of members. It's just the one guy who on the first album doubled with vocals. And then after that first album, he left. Matt something, I forget what his name is. He left the band. And then the four-piece went on from there. And they've made every album since.
Yeah.
And you watch their, like I said, live at Red Rocks, you watch that. There's a video involved, and then there's also the album. It's just the four of them on stage, absolutely just killing it. They do a ton of acoustic stuff. As a band, they're just really tight, really good.
Yeah. I don't know Rebelution's, full discography, but this album I think was a great pick by you, Mike, saying how this is who that band is.
Yeah.
And
they do a good
knowing
job.
It was their sixth album shows that how consistent they are and how they keep working on their craft.
No.
Yeah, and so like Joe mentioned, I also haven't listened to a lot of their other previous material, so I don't know if you can answer this, Mike, but do you know if this is very similar sounding to what their previous material sounds like?
It is. They kind of had a turning point. Our friend introduced Rebelution to me, and I actually decided to go album one in order, by year, front to back. And I did it in 2 days. It was just, that's all I played. And you literally, if you listen to them front to back, you can hear kind of that switch where they're kind of like that hip-hop reggae, they're trying to figure it out, and then they kind of slowly move, and then they kind of come into this pop rock reggae that they're in now.
Yeah.
And that was somewhere around Peace of Mind, which is where they did the full album, the acoustic version, and then the dub version. And they kind of made that transition. But a lot of their stuff has this feel to it, and yeah, they really do a good job.
So where does that 𝘼𝙙𝙪𝙡 album fall in like chronological order compared to this Free Rein?
So you had Courage to Grow, which was their formation of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Bright Side of Life, which then they go to 𝘼𝙙𝙪𝙡, which is kind of where they transitioned, in my opinion, more to this like pop rock reggae.
Okay, cool, yeah.
And then they had Count Me In, Falling Into Place, and then Free Rein.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, though, all of them are very good. So for Free Rein, they actually worked with Don Corleone, who is a big like, exactly. He's actually a really well known him and Winta James. They're like big Jamaican reggae producers.
Okay.
So they were kind of like their go-tos on this.
Yeah.
So they worked with them. And again, earlier, like they've gone every 2 years, give or take. So 2014, 2016, 2018. So every like 2 years, you're standard now.
Yeah.
They put out an album. Yeah, it is what it is.
I have a feeling that this year, 2020, was a big year for a lot of musicians and bands. They were going to put out stuff, and now they're just trying to see
survive.
Like, do we put it out? But we can't tour for it. Do we
That's
wait?
The hardest part.
Like
it really is.
How long is it really gonna last?
Yeah. So I can't imagine like if you're in that field, how to navigate through this year is quite tough for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Overall, let's think about it. Let's go favorites and all that. So my number one is Trapdoor.
Okay.
Love that song.
Yeah.
I think everybody who listens to music ever needs to listen to that song. It's a great reggae, blues, rock, like everything you can think of combined into one.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of my hands down favorite songs, period.
Mm-hmm.
Love that song.
Okay.
Nice, great song.
So I went with Settle Down Easy for my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It was a close it was a toss up between that one and Trapdoor, but it had like that modern twist of a classic reggae song that I really enjoyed. Again, the kind of themes of being very calm and positive kind of carry over onto this, and I remember this one specifically when you were playing it. We were playing Horseshoes.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to it. This is kind of a chill song.
Yeah, it's a great tune.
And I just love it.
My top track was Take on Anything. I loved that jazz influence. Not that I'm a big jazz guy, but I just thought it was a cool something different to include on the album. And then that
fusions.
Yeah, the fusion, and then that drum fill that just led right into the verse got me every time as a drummer. So that's my top track. My bottom track was Rise on Top.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh God, no. But
yeah,
not for me.
Patience is mine. Again, I can sing along to it. Good song. It was just very monotone, very kind of The lyrics were okay, but it was the first ballad, and as the first ballad, like, I like ballads. I'm not gonna say I don't, but it just didn't do it for the first one.
Yeah.
There's, you look later in the album. There's even Consolation. I think would have been better off there. Than Patience.
Right.
Patience was just kind of to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Joe and say Rise on Top because of the stuttering was just a little too awkward and annoying for me, and it just didn't have the same kind of feel as the rest of the songs that on the album. My sleeper was Healing. I really enjoy how they kind of switched it up a bit and kind of brought a bit of a country influence onto the track. There wasn't really any elements of reggae on the track.
No,
not really. Yeah,
it was like an acoustic with a country twist to it.
Exactly.
That's really what it was.
Yeah, it was just a good change up for me on the track list.
For all those reasons, my dark horse, I have a split. Again, of course, Joe. Yeah.
Well, I had a split on my favorite because I did pick Trapdoor.
Yeah.
But my second runner-up was Settle Down Easy.
Yeah.
I fucking love that song.
So my two dark horses were Trapdoor and Healing for all the reasons already mentioned.
Great.
And then some.
Great songs. And I really thought Healing was, I've downplayed songs that are different from the rest of the album, but I thought Healing did a great job at being different, yet still fitting into the overall theme of the album. So you get my split of a dark horse vote with Trapdoor.
That was my sleeper. I mean, Healing, hands down. I just love that country. Even though I'm not, and you know me,
You hate country.
I don't even want to say I hate it.
You hate country.
No, because
you hate country.
Oh.
Just come to terms with it, Mike.
No.
You have said if we choose a country album for this podcast, you'll be like, no.
Listen, when it comes to country, I appreciate the fact that they play their own instruments. they listen. It makes a big deal. Like they're musicians. They do well with what they do. I'm just not a huge fan of like that twang. It's just not my thing. It never has been. You know, the closest I get is like Southern rock. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the first time I heard Healing and that country vibe, and I don't know what it was, it just stuck with me. Maybe it's the acoustic, because I'm a big acoustic fan, but it was so different, but fit at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that just instantly sold it. The positive vibes, the positive lyrics, you know, that kind of country feel, but it fit the album. I don't know. I can listen to that song on repeat. You know, I love that song, Healing.
For sure.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
yeah. So, let's rate it.
Yeah.
Bops. I'm doing bops.
How many bops?
I gave it 3.5.
Really?
Yep.
I'm shocked.
So, I know you are. And I shocked myself a little bit. Wow. Here's my thing. I've listened to everything they've got 10 times through. I really have. There's a few songs on there that kind of just don't do the album justice. You got Patience. You've got Take On Anything's okay. Consolation kind of killed the ending. That hurt me. I would recommend this to anybody who's like trying to get into reggae listening.
That's what I was saying too, yeah.
You know, you want to get like just kind of your modern reggae feel. This is a great album to go with. There's so many great singles on all their other songs as well. I listen to their station on repeat. So it's definitely above average, you know. I would go more to the 4.5 if we were to do their live album, which maybe in the future we would, because they just fucking kill it. Yeah. I was supposed to see them in June, and COVID fucked this up. But again, for this album, again, 6th studio album, and they're just still killing it. Kind of your standard pop rock reggae, 3.5. They did a good job.
So I'm giving this a 4. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 bops. Again, another change of pace for me. You know, I tend to get stuck in my ruts here. Not ruts in a negative way, but
you rated above me.
I did. Wow. I know, and you brought this album to the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about.
It's a good feeling.
We're sharing.
I'm actually happy about that.
We're sharing music with each other. I can totally listen or imagine myself listening to this album again.
Yeah.
As with many songs with Tame Impala's Currents, I can see myself listening to those songs again, which I think is why we started this podcast, just to share music.
Well, and drink in the morning.
And drink too. right. I'm still...
Now there's a reason.
Mike won this episode. He's finished.
Big time.
No.
But 4 out of 5 as a musician, oh God, they're just fucking tight as a band. Great songs.
I love when I can get people into new music. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah,
I know.
It really is.
Not to repeat again, but if you're trying to get into reggae or some, but if you're trying to find something new, something new to listen to, a new genre, give this a shot because I did, and I'm really pleased with it. So 4 out of 5 bops for Joe.
So I had mentioned earlier that this album for me personally is a bit harder to delve into, to get more into like what the meat of it really is. I think maybe because I was introduced to it during a bit of like a more relaxing and not super focused listen.
Social situation.
Exactly, yeah. That might have
drinking situation.
I was legal.
Legal, not illegal.
It was legal. I was legal. I'm just a bit more of a classic reggae fan. I think the modern twist isn't really necessarily for me. So I thought this album was very middle of the road. There are some really good tracks on it. I did enjoy a fair bit of the track list. But listening to it and trying to write notes for it was a bit harder for me. So I ended up giving it a 2.5
Okay.
Bops out of 5.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about our beer today, Adult Content by Tribus.
Yes.
I've been savoring that last sip because I like it so much.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I've been out for a while.
Yeah, Mike's out. He won.
For that reason.
So of course, oh shit.
I got more.
Oh
Jesus
man, I
Christ.
cheated. I didn't even
look
realize.
at that. He's got more.
All right, go easy. We filmed 3 episodes at a time. So
True. I only drank half the
40-minute
beer.
drive. Come on. No, so my favorite brewery, a great beer by them, a great IPA by them, the Cryo IPA, new technology, up and coming. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5 hops.
Wow.
Here's why. A lot of the IPAs we gave in prior episodes, we were talking about lacking that X factor. And I feel like a beer like this has that X factor, that extra little flavor.
Yep.
The extra little hoppiness, if you're into that. I think this has that. I love a lot more IPAs by Tribus, so be sure to check them out. This is a great exemplar of their brewery and what they do. So 4.5 from me. Hops.
Search for Oak Island or whatever.
Exemplar in the search for Oak Island.
Join the tribe, Tribus Brew.
No,
Beer company.
Tribus does some great beers. I mean, this was good. I gave it a 3.5. Ooh.
Me too.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. That's cute. No, it did. It had that little darker kind of feel to it. That Cryo kind of added a little something different. Not super hoppy, but still had enough of the citrus, enough of the hops. And, overall, I could drink this beer again for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'd give it a 3.5. I like you said, I like the X factor and the kind of different style of brewing and how they kind of came around to doing it. It's kind of got that bitter taste for me at the very beginning.
Yep.
So that's what's kind of limiting it from being like this super great beer. But for what it is, 6.9%, obviously, you got to give it points for that. Nice. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting beer. I was not expecting that. So thank you for bringing a cool surprise to the table.
You're welcome. I'm always
The cloudiness got me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It literally, you can't see through
you can't.
it. And it's
it's bright. It's light.
It's a
light color.
golden beer.
Yeah.
So that really caught me.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
Cool. Let's shout them out. So we got Tribus Beer Co. out of Milford, Connecticut. And Instagram, Facebook. Check out their website. They're doing lots of great things during this quarantine time as well, or as we're just coming out of it. So make sure you support them and other local breweries.
Yeah, check out Rebelution, Facebook, Instagram, their website. They just put out a dub collection album, 2020. So you can check that out if you're interested in that kind of electronic reggae feel. Otherwise, fingers crossed, they put out something new recently, because that would be nice.
Sweet. So next episode, we have another producer's pick.
That's right.
Hit us up, Tom. What do you got?
It's weird how it comes around every third one like that.
It's like we planned it.
But yes, I am bringing my personal favorite, one of my favorite rap albums of all time. It is a project from MF Doom called Food. It is a food-centric themed rap album.
Kind of like Weird Al.
No.
He had a food album.
Well, yes, but actually no.
Yes, but no.
I see lots of M's. I see lots of F's, lots of D's, lots of O's.
Oh yeah, it's an anagram of MF Doom. It's
right.
Food.
All right.
Came out with some of the most classic
And this is
material.
a rap album.
Yes.
Okay.
With well, I don't want to spoil it too
don't
much.
spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it. But I haven't listened to it yet.
Yes, and the beer that I've matched with it is
Yes.
Devil's Hop Yard from Connecticut Brewing Company.
Okay, cool.
And it's very interesting combination of both. I think the pairing is the best pairing that I've come up with so far, and you'll see why.
Good.
Okay, I like that. The Doom and the Devils and that's a solid combo.
Good theme coming up for that episode.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Hops and Bops Podcast. We're streaming on Apple. I keep saying Apple.
Apple.
What's Apple? Apples and bananas. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Instagram, Facebook, Hops and Bops Podcast. We're having a great time. This is great. This has been fucking fantastic.
Fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of my Sundays.
Yes. We hope you're enjoying
I don't watch
it.
football with the Jets on.
Yeah, right.
So
we hope you're enjoying it too. So, let us know how you feel and give us a follow and a like. So for my good friends Mike and Tom, I'm Joe. We'll see you next time.
Peace.